Okay, Chaver, middle of talking about eating before Shacharis. So yesterday we came out that when you know the time of something, it helps you a lot in life. We spoke about that the Isser, the prohibition, in that we take on it to the Isser D'Rabbanan, not D'Oraisa, in as much as we saw that there were veritable shitos known as the Chinuch, most primarily, in Mitzvah Reish Memchas that hold it's a din d'oraisa. We paskin it's a din d'Rabbanan, and the reason was als gaiva, and therefore we said if that is the reason, with that understanding, when it comes to coffee and tea, the Mishnah Berurah already opens up the door in which the Mishnah Berurah teaches us that you can put the piece of sugar in your mouth while you drink. And he says, because that's the only way you could get it down. Eino yachal lishtais without that. And we said that what we're seeing here, the Mishnah Berurah explain all the latter achrayim, it's not that it's physically impossible. What do you mean? You could figure out a way to get it in your throat. They also were able to figure out a way to get the coffee in their throat. The answer is no, because without that, it's just not negeya. And therefore, you're allowed to do whatever it takes to make it into a drink that you're going to drink, as long as it's not a drink chashuva. And that's the reason why we said coffee with sugar and milk, Alpi Pashtas Bizman is mutter, as quoted by the Gedalim or some Zalman, etc. But we pointed out other areas, other entities would be forbidden. They did ask Reb Chaim Kanievsky many years ago, what's the story with a Keurig machine? And I think we could understand from his answer whether we're going to go with what he said. So obviously someone explained to him what a Keurig machine is. L'chayr was an espresso machine, because in Eretz Yisrael they don't have Keurig machines. L'chayr is an espresso machine, and someone explained to him what an espresso machine is, and he said, it sounds like it's a chash of a coffee, and that therefore it is forbidden. However, even in Eretz Yisrael nowadays, I don't think an espresso or a Keurig is considered a chash of a coffee. Many people, I don't want to say roiv or not roiv, that's not the nekuda. Nekuda is the regular cup of coffee. If you have that machine in your house, then it is a regular cup of coffee. Why are you having the Nespresso or the Keurig and not the instant? Because it's there, and it's easy, and it's convenient. Maybe it has more caffeine, and therefore that is l'chayr not a problem. But once you start with the fancier coffees, it's going to be a problem. So ask many people, what do you mean? On my way to shul every morning, I stop by Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's, and I buy a cup of coffee, a regular cup of black coffee that I put 2 sugars, a milk, skim milk, whatever your personal preference is that a problem? Again, l'chayra, is that going to be called a chash of a drink? I don't think so, just because maybe personally one in this room doesn't necessarily have that all the time, doesn't determine that a cup of Dunkin' Donuts is a chash of cup of coffee. But within Dunkin' Donuts and within Starbucks and within everything, there are levels of chashivas. You could get the flavors, and you could get the frappuccinos, and you could get all the other millions of wonderful goodness that. So that's a different story, is that when you're in the beginning of Pei Test, it's a very good question. In the beginning of Pei Test, you see that you're not allowed to do anything before davening. Not do anything before davening. So there's really 2 answers to your question. Is that number 1, anything that is al haderech, pashtus is not going to be included in the Isser. Most notably, we all know that maybe we've gotten yelled at too many times in our life for saying good morning to someone. Oh, you're not saying good morning before davening? No? You never had that one? You never had that one. Okay. You're not saying good morning for Adam. You said shalom. You became all from, and he said shalom. No, you can't say shalom. What are you doing? Then you learn the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah says that to say sahavatava is aser. But the answer is, as is clear, is when you're going out of your way to do it. If on your walk, as you're walking into the Beis Medrash, you walk by another Jew and you're a normal human being, you see someone, you say, hey, you say good morning, you say shalom, that's not the Isser. That's not the Isser. And therefore, so similarly, not exactly the same, if you're not going out of your way, this is where you're going on the derech, that would be heter number 1. Heter number 2 would be, when we deal the first half, it's a little bit confusing in Siman Pei Test. When it comes to doing things before davening, we find that there's a heter to say brachos, to say Shema. Whereas when it comes to eating, we don't necessarily find that heter, and it's very sensible. The reason being is because when it comes to eating, it's not just the Kabbalah Sol Malchus Shemayim that's the issue, it's that God is waiting. What are you doing eating food? It's a gaiva problem. So you're not going to get out of that gaiva problem per se by saying Shema. But with regard to stopping off somewhere, says many Paiskim, that you do get out of that problem. And that is the reason why many people, they will say brachas in the morning and then, deal with things if they need to deal with them. But now, the $1 million question is, what is the story with eating before davening? With eating before davening. Okay, good. You're right. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm jumping. We should. Thank you. No. But he's right. We should go one step deeper. What about other drinks? So first of all, absolutely fascinating is the Sefer Penini Tefillah quotes Rav Elyashiv. And I think this is fascinating because Chayra, this shows us how far things go. They asked Rav Elyashiv, again, someone's going to say, you can't really believe these farm, but we again, it's an Adam Gadol, someone here big said the following idea. Ha'im mutter lishtois gam mashkaot kalim umugazim. Soft drinks. Tshuva, kain, mutter. Sheila, ma aser lishtois koidem atfila. Tshuva, yayin, ubira. Which is what the Mishnah Berurah said. Which that explanation of Rav Elyashiv is a very broad heter, very broad heter. However, now is where we have to start putting different sugyas together. If you are lost in who knows where and you need to make Havdalah and you have no wine, what are you going to do? So you're going to start saying, Chamar Medina, I could have beer. Okay, great. Yayin ubira. Are you going to start, I don't have beer. Can I start using a fresh drink, orange juice? Says many places, yeah. What's the nikuda of Chamar Medina? It's because it's a drink that's chashiv. It's a chashiv drink, which l'chayra is the same iser before davening. It's you're having a chashiv drink. So is this a gilui in Rav Elyashiv? I don't know. Good is very good. Is it exactly the same? Not 100% clear. But the poskim seem to take on that as long as it's a hydrating drink, which is basically water, plus, that is fine. Once it comes to chashiv drinks, it's not fine. I have heard, and I'm sure many of us have heard here, that soda is out of that equation because a soda is a chashiv drink. Seems like Rav Elyashiv might say otherwise. Many places can take on that soda is a problem. However, as I see from Second Seder here, for some people, a Coke is their form of caffeine. That's how they get caffeine. Why? Listen, we won't. We're not gonna be whatever. But it could be. For example, could someone have an energy drink? Someone have an energy drink, very normal. Let's say, I'm not saying they're healthy. Please don't yell at me. And I'm not saying, but let's say someone doesn't want a coffee. He wants to have a Red Bull. He wants to have whatever, any of these drinks. Is that allowed? L'chayra. That's not a chashiv drink. What are you doing? You're drinking, like the Mishnah Berurah taught us, you're doing something which is not a pagam in Hashem's kavod, just to be able to daven. That's the equation to be mutter. To sit down to a cup of orange juice, to sit down to many of the other drinks that we have would seemingly not be advisable, but a drink that you're drinking purely for hydration, like for example, sometimes they say vitamin water. So we're going to fight, is vitamin water anything more than just water? The fact that they write a million things on the label, does it doesn't. I feel like Tony the Tiger when I drink it. Okay, listen, teach their own. But l'chayra, that's the geder of drinks. So again, water is mutter, tea, coffee with a little bit of sugar and milk is mutter. Chashiv drinks, the 37 shekel green drinks, or what's the other one? Mitzvahs, there you go. The mortgage away your house, or in this country, it's the havajavas, or the whatever else it is. That's a problem, yes? So protein shakes, I don't know. Yesh laden. We're going to talk about that right now. When it comes to food. So what's the story with food? When it comes to food,
all these things aren't only if they're going to help you daven?
These are all entities. Yeah, obviously.
Is that just because you're thirsty?
No, nothing is stam, I just want to drink. Just stam, you want to drink. What are you drinking for? God's waiting for you.
So all these things are because you think they keep you up?
I don't know if the nekudas keep you up. I don't think... Yeah. So again, on Nakuda you can be able to daven. It's true. That's what we said yesterday. That
they're parched, so then go drink water.
Correct. Go drink water. I agree.
Don't drink.
I agree. 100%. Again. So let's be clear. Good. Again, let's be clear. The heter is water. Why is there a heter of water? Because that is chashivos. That is not chashiv. And before davening, we don't do anything chashiv. So you have water. You need to just put something into your body. One second. No. So the Mishnah Berurah, okay, yesh laden. Mishnah Berurah is confusing, right? The discussion that you two are having is really how to learn this Mishnah Berurah. Because Mishnah Berurah says, why is water mutter? It's a shayach gaiva. Based off of that, based on what Rav Nachum David is saying, it's not shayach gaiva. Have as much water as you want, even if you have no reason in the world to have water. Then the Mishnah Berurah continues and says, similarly, tea and coffee, because you can be machavin, but it's only because it's a water drink. So it sounds like he's now, as soon as you're going to raise the bar out of the world of water within the permissible world, then it needs something. So that, I think, is the l'chayr normative psak halacha, is that exact meaning we just said. Water is mutter. Just like before Havdalah, you can have water. Why? Because there's no isser. Water is that entity. It's an i-chashiva, so you can do what you want. Now, we'll just mention, due to the Gemara and Eruvin that you're learning, you might get yourself into issues. If you're having water for no reason, did you make a bracha on it? So because you don't know what to do there, you shouldn't do it. But usually you're going to having it because you're thirsty or because you're parched. A parched is actually ol shayla. What is a lump that's a parched? But fine. Oh wow, we're running out of time. So that's regular water. When it comes to water with a little bit of something, but it's still water, as we spoke when we hacked bishalakum, we said, why is coffee not bishalakum? Why is beer not bishalakum? We said, because it's water. It's just watered down water. That's the reason why it's going to be mutter. It's l'chavin daita b'tfila v'chulu. That's all going to be allowed. Once you get out of that, and included in that area, even though in the Mishnah Brura's world, coffee and milk was not in that category, the Paiskim tell us it is in that category. And that's very mistaver and very normal. Is there a maila not to? I don't know. I guess that's a personal, subjective thing. If you personally could drink a coffee without sugar and milk, and you could drink it with sugar and milk, yeah, maybe it's a maila. But if what you're doing is just creating a coffee to drink the coffee, I don't know if there's going to be a maila there. And therefore, that's good. So once you get out of that category, which is all the fancy drinks, that is going to be an isser, a regular good old-fashioned isser dirabanan. We're out of time, but what we're just gonna, we'll go 90 seconds overtime. What we're gonna add on is what happens when it comes to food. So when it comes to food, says the Mishnah Brura, I'll just read you his words. Hayotzim is very new. Putting in sugar into the tea, or which in the Mishnah Brura's world was aser, so let's just hold that caveat. Or lechol mi'at mini targima, to eat a little bit while you're drinking. Why are you eating a little bit? Because you can't drink the coffee and tea without putting something into your system. Then you can't do that. So now comes along the $1 million questions, that just like we extended the liberty a little bit, and we said that sugar and milk is not called gaiva mutter, can someone be so bold and say a cookie is also not called gaiva? L'maisa, there are no paiskim that say that. And l'chayra, the explanation is because food is an entity of gaiva. That's l'chayra the way it goes. And therefore, that's l'chayra the isser. I say l'chayra because maybe someone bold would say, but the Mishnah just told you not to say that. That's why it's confusing. He said, don't say I'm just having the cookie to be able to have the coffee. That's not enough of a reason. It's not enough reason. Now, if it's mamish impossible, like we said, to putting the sugar and the milk in is making it into an entity that I can drink. Without it, it's impossible to drink. So I'm having the cookie just so I can drink it. But that's a pretty extreme level. And if someone is at that level, that his system is so shvach, then maybe if someone... Oh, good. But of course, when it comes to mine refuah, that you mamish need to do, and then that's going to be mutter, as we said, mine refuah. But the Mishmur does say it's a maila to say kriya shema. It's a maila to say kriya shema, especially if you're shema. I just want to end, I'm sorry, we're going overtime. The Sifin Shulchan Aruch, this is like a teaser, it's not fair, says, Hatsameh, we'll do this tomorrow.